my emotional attachment to this company. That attachment was early on, really, because when I started, I just lost my dad that same year in January of '86. So I started at Ashley's in September of that same year. I needed somebody to fill a role in my life. I was graduating high school. My life could have went a lot of different ways, but I met somebody in Ashley Johnson that was several things to me. It wound up being, you know, he was a great boss and an unbelievable guy to work for, but it just wound up being my best friend.
Yeah.
In an age where it's harder and harder to find customer service, I mean, it sounds cliche, but it's not. Anybody, no matter where you go, customer service is getting harder and harder to find. Good customer service is. So I do think our level of service and our service technicians, and once we have a customer, that customer's experience with us, I feel like in our industry is totally unmatched. I mean, the way we do what we do and take care of that customer.
Welcome back to the next episode of the Southern Executive Experience. Today we've got a special guest, another episode of the Ashley's Customer Employee Spotlight. And we got Bob Pearce, the man, the myth, the legend, Bob Pearce.
Yeah.
The Vice President of Ashley's Business Solutions and Ashley's right-hand man. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate the invite.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Well, I guess I kind of already said what you did, but introduce yourself, I guess, to the viewers and tell a little about who you are and what you do at Ashley's.
Well, I'm Bob Pearce, and Vice President, Sales Manager at Ashley's, and been there for about 38 years now, and sort of try to keep things in check as much as I can.
That's right. So you've been with Ashley just about from the beginning, right?
Yeah. It's been a journey, but yeah, since 1986.
And done about everything. And if I remember correctly, you started off driving deliveries and delivering.
Yeah, actually needed a part-time job to when I started college, and so I would go to class in the morning and grab some lunch and come make deliveries after lunch.
Pencils and
oh yeah, we were in the office
paper
supply business back then, just strictly office supplies and a little furniture, and we sold a few machines like typewriters, if anybody still remembers those.
Oh man.
And calculators and such. But yeah, mainly delivering office supplies in the afternoons.
What now? Were we still downtown Tifton at that point? I guess. Yeah, we were down the original building.
Original building, down on Main Street, and a lot of history that was in that building. But yeah, we stayed there for a few years and then wound up moving.
Well, I know we had Ashley on, and we talked a lot about how we got into the copier business and everything. Can you tell me about, from your point of view, what happened there? I know he was telling us the story about being at the convention and nobody wanting to talk to us and stuff. And
yeah, it was kind of funny looking back on it, but we were selling at the time, we were just dreaming about growing a copier business. And,
right.
And we sold a brand that only went up to a certain speed at that time. This was back in the analog days, so no copy, print, scan, fax. It was just copy. You know? And we needed a line that would carry us up through the higher volume machines and so forth. So we did wound up going to a machine convention, and Ashley and Ricky, our service manager at the time, and went down there, and we sort of scoured the convention floor for all the usual suspects, and talking with each one of them, once they found out we were from little Tifton, Georgia, they didn't tend to give us a lot of time. Let me just say that. I don't know if they took us seriously or not, or, back in that time, some of the major manufacturers already had full, representation in our area. So none of the big boys kind of wanted to talk to us right then. But we did, Ricky and I stumbled upon one manufacturer that was very interested, and at the time it was Toshiba.
Yeah.
And we wound up signing up.
Good deal, and just kind of grew from there, and sold small Toshibas and grew from there, and ended up getting the Ricoh brand. After that,
after Toshiba, it was still in the analog days, and so when digital came along, hanging these machines on the network and getting the scanning and printing part of it, Toshiba really, they were behind the eight ball a little bit. They didn't have the best technology at the time, and we still think that we moved in the right direction when we picked up Savin at the time,
right?
Which is a Ricoh family group machine, and we sold Savin when the digital age kind of got implemented. Sold those for several years.
Yeah. Well, back to when you were talking about, I think when they were first started, we first talked to them, you said they, all the big boys were here
Yeah.
in South Georgia. You had the Icons, you had the Milner, you had Lanier back in those days.
It was mainly Acme Business Products,
Yep.
which was before there was an Icon. That was Acme, and they were based out of Macon, and they sold a lot of Ricoh equipment. And then Lanier was big in the area back then, and so those were the two major players. Then we had a handful of independents still, Valdosta, Waycross, and so forth.
Well, with all those people already established, how were we able to separate ourselves, and how were you able to get your foot in the door of these accounts when, starting from scratch? I wouldn't even know how to deal with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm very blessed to be coming to the business 20 so years after y'all started, and people know our name, and they think Copiers. In most places we're at, they think Ashley's.
Yeah.
How did y'all start off?
Well, it really started with relationships. We had a good customer base. Of course, we were just a teeny tiny company at the time, but we had a lot of customers that would order a few office supplies from us, and they were in all of South Georgia, really, from Tifton to Valdosta to Adel over to Albany and that whole region. So we had a customer base that liked dealing with us, and we had relationships. So, and then when we were selling those smaller copiers, we would sell those like to their low volume areas, and so we had a lot of machines out that were smaller, but we knew the decision makers, but we just couldn't sell the large stuff. So sometimes the Ricoh or the Canon would be, as their main copier, and they would have our little machines as their other machines. So when we got that larger line of equipment and could go all the way up to 70, 80, 100 pages per minute, we sort of morphed into, we started in the back dock, let's say, and then we made our way into the copy room, when we got the right product.
That's right. How did we separate ourselves at that point? What was the difference? With all the infrastructure and the corporate America being all, what was the difference?
Well, I think at the time, a lot of it was relationships. A lot of it was our customer service and kind of what Ashley was known for, and relationships he had built, and the way he had taught me to build that. But one of the key things I think that separated us of what we started doing differently was the way we structured our maintenance plans.
Yep.
So, the big boys were operating on plans where that you had to buy a certain amount, a set amount per month of page volume. And so
an allowance.
An allowance,
Yeah.
It was a base fee that had an allowance of pages, and if you made over, you paid that charge. So we analyzed that, and in trying to be different, we said, that's really not the best idea for a customer, because it was set up for the dealership to win all the time. So most people got set up on allowances that they never made. They never made their page volume. So their effective cost per page was really a lot higher than what they were sold it was going to be, in the beginning.
That's right.
Yep.
And we charged people exactly for what they used, so they didn't have any waste.
That's right.
Yeah.
We just set them up to bill monthly only for their page volume used, and we could show the cost savings and the benefit on paper to that. And when we pointed that out, we started getting a lot of good opportunities.
I know a lot of people still do it that old way. We deal with that a lot still. And people wanting to pay for it. They sell against us talking about paying for every copy.
Yeah. It's kind of funny how the terminology goes and how people are, they're used to doing it one way, and when you tell them a way that's more efficient and cost saving, they look at it like skeptical.
What's in it for you type thing.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, you are the sales manager, vice president of Ashley's Business Solutions. We have a very, and I'm part of it, but a very unique company in South Georgia. We're a top 25 Canon dealer in the country, and you're a major, if not one of the biggest parts of that, and everything you've done here. I know you enjoy your job, but why do you do what you do?
I think about that a lot, because you and I were just talking about where this year went and where does time go, and 38 years, it seems like it's went really quick.
Yeah.
The reason I do what I do is really because my emotional attachment to this company.
Yeah.
It started, that attachment was early on, really, because when I started, I just lost my dad that same year, in January of '86. And so I started at Ashley's in September of that same year. And it was really a unique, I think it was meant to be, me being here.
Yeah.
And I got to get,
Hey, man.
I got to get a hold of myself there. But I needed somebody, to fill a role in my life. I was graduating high school. My life could have went a lot of different ways. It could have went way different. Some of my friends and everything, they made a lot of, not so good choices. I could have been lumped right in there with them if I wasn't careful. But I met somebody in Ashley Johnson that was several things to me. It wound up being, he was a great boss and unbelievable guy to work for, but it just wound up being my best friend.
Yeah.
And so he's a.
Well, you are Uncle Bob. I mean, I've known you my whole life.
It's
and I've joked around and said you're Ashley's favorite son sometimes, probably.
Well, we have a unique relationship. It's been, I tell you, I could write a book on that. But I remember coming to get you guys in Waycross. I was trying to think earlier, how old you would have been then. I'm thinking
5,
4, maybe
something like that.
It was in '86. I don't know. Michael was probably 6 or 7, and you were probably 4 or 5.
I remember Ricky coming to get us.
You don't remember me coming to get you?
Partially, I know it was in the van, and I always sat in the middle. And I'd play with the seatbelts.
You'd be in the floorboard, and Michael would be over there, asleep in the seat.
That's funny, but I do remember that part. But I don't. I remember there was another gentleman I know that was, and then Ricky. But for some reason, I can't picture you. But I was young.
You were young. You were little.
That's
little,
right.
But,
That's right. But we're like a family at Ashley's.
Oh,
is
no
what
doubt.
You're trying to say.
It's an unbelievable family.
Yeah,
and that's the way. I've just started to say I needed that in my life. I needed a role model. I needed a mentor. I needed a friend, and so Ashley's been all my life since the last 38 years. He's been a boss, a friend, a brother, a father figure, and everything. So that's the reason I do what I do. Back to that question, I just really feel blessed to be here, and I sure needed it in my life.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, that morphed into the question it needed to be, but I was going to ask something more along the lines of your job.
Yeah. Why do I do? Yeah.
And as far as I love that, but I was going to say your daily responsibilities at Ashley's.
Okay. Just helping our sales reps get the right information. I go on calls with sales reps. I try to help and mentor and go with the newer reps and try to do some training with those guys and ladies. But our senior reps, I just communicate with them, make sure they have what they need. If they need me to be involved in some strategy or go on a meeting, I'm always, ready and willing to do that type thing. But just really sort of managing everything from the sales, making sure the pricing and our programs are meeting customer needs and rolling out the right programs to the reps to be able to go and settle in the street. And if there's any customer relations that need to be handled, I'm always eager and I step into that role as well.
And I think you also handle your own accounts, and you have house accounts.
I have some house accounts that I handle personally, usually like some of the bigger hospitals and banks and things like that.
That's right. That's right. What do you feel like today makes Ashley's different than other companies?
Well, I tell you, in an age where it's harder and harder to find customer service. I mean, it sounds cliche, but it's not. I just tried to get a grill delivered from Home Depot. I tried to buy a nice grill from Home Depot, and it was just a cluster. I couldn't get the help I wanted. Nothing against Home Depot. I love them, but it just wound up that I just didn't have a good experience, and I think that could be at a grocery store, no matter where you go, customer service is getting harder and harder to find. Good customer service is. So I do think, our level of service and our service technicians, and once we have a customer, that customer's experience with us, I feel like in our industry is totally unmatched. The way we do what we do and take care of that customer.
That's the way I feel. I feel that, we not, it sounds cliche, we care, but it's just that we take an extra step, and we try to go above and beyond and make and to keep our customers as happy as possible.
100%.
And our people is what's different.
Well, everybody's got product. You know,
Right.
they can get a very similar product from a lot of different providers, but one thing they'll never be able to provide is our people and our service. They can't get that from anybody but Ashley's.
That's right. That's right. Well, let's talk a little bit more about just advice, maybe. Maybe not specifically Ashley's, but if you were to give yourself advice, if we've got new sales reps on, what do you recommend for someone getting into sales? What are some good tricks of the trade, or what would you recommend someone to get started?
Well, I was thinking about that as well. I really think that you can't let money drive the whole process.
Right.
I mean, you really have to have something connecting you to your job besides money. Because if you look at that and only that, you're going to get probably running down some rabbit holes you probably don't have any business in. So either a passion for the industry, you have to have an interest. And I'm not saying work has to be so fun every day. It's called work for a reason. But
Right.
I mean, if you generally like an industry or a product that you feel like you can believe in and really see yourself going out there and explaining and telling customers that they're better off with it than without it, I just think having a passion or an emotional connection is key. Being willing to invest the time. Everybody wants success nowadays. Just seems like everybody wants to start at the middle or the end. They don't want to start at the beginning.
That's right. They don't want to deliver office supplies.
Yeah, they don't want to deliver office supplies.
Ride the truck
or put together, or ride the truck, or
that kind of stuff.
But learning it. And the other thing I would say to that is just if you can find some passion, sort of like what I just described a minute ago, to me almost happened by accident.
Right.
Because I needed a part-time job, and I started the part-time job, and I guess I'm still working the part-time job. but if you can find a mentor, anybody that's considering sales or really any other job, any position, I would just suggest finding somebody that you look up to and you respect. Like what happened with me and Ashley, I just liked everything that I'd never met anybody like him. I was fresh off the farm.
Right.
I was raised on a farm, and that's the work I did. The only other work I had was maybe working at Kmart or a grocery store in high school.
Yeah.
But I didn't know a lot about the business world at all, and I sort of got introduced. Raised in a small, tight-knit community, and all the people around me were farmers.
Yeah.
And I was the son of a farmer. But when I got introduced into that world and figuring out, business people exist, and here's a pretty good example of one right here. He's a go-getter, and I sort of latched on to his way of thinking, and I liked everything about the company and the industry, and I just sort of developed a passion. But new people to business or sales, I think you need to have a emotional attachment, a genuine interest, and if you can find a mentor in that, and just sort of try to get as close to those people as you can.
Yeah. I like that. And then you have find something you're passionate about, and something that drives you, and emotional connection. I like that. I like that. Yeah. Sales needs to be more about just the money. It needs to be about helping others, and like you said, building something.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not discounting the importance of it, but
Right.
I mean, you really, to succeed in it, I think it almost needs to be a byproduct of what you're doing, not a driving force of what you're doing.
That's right. That's right. Well, Bob, I thank you for coming on this podcast. I told you to be short and sweet.
Short and sweet. That's always good for me, but
yeah,
I appreciate the invite. It's a pleasure.
Anything else? Anything you want to say, or anything about the company, about what you do, or?
We just, we're proud of our company. We've, I guess we've got about 70 employees now, and we're serving over about 7,000 customers. We've achieved levels that I'm very thankful for. Like you said, we're a top 20 Canon dealer in the country.
Yep.
And just a lot of positive things, and under Ashley's leadership and some things that we put in place, I see the company growing for many years to come, and proud to be a part of it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming on, and we'll see y'all later, and thank y'all for tuning in.